Welcome, everyone. Lance Scurv X here, the Scurv Podcast, lancescurvx.com. Pardon me for being a little too relaxed. It's been a long day for me. I've been up from 4 o'clock this morning, but I wanted to get these thoughts out there and maybe have a discussion about it. The title of this piece is Have We Been Lied To About Black Men? The hidden reality of black men that media never shows. I want to speak about how they talk about us as black men, the good, the bad, and the ugly. And I'm actually going to speak about the good, the bad, and the ugly. And this topic came up because my dear sister, just in frustration, which was proper, asked the question, where are all the black men? I'm not going to detail the situation, but I'll say it like this. There are many black women out here who are very frustrated because they just can't seem to find a black man for just normal help. We're not talking money. We're not talking relationships. We're talking about the abundance of black men that we seem to have had in yesteryear that were in the community, that were there to help, that were there to fill in the blanks, that were always available. Brothers who knew their role. Yes, we know that lots of times the brothers had motivation on a carnal level to want to help a sister. I understand that. But I would say the vast majority weren't like that. And my positive words about black men is not to rub it in the faces of the sisters who are frustrated, because it's like a schoolyard that has concrete in the back that's laid down in a very uneven fashion. And when it rains, it's wet all over. But as it dries, you can see the high points dry faster than the lower points that puddle off. And sometimes our sisters find themselves in the high points where the water dries off quick, in the high points of an area that doesn't have as many black men available in her daily routine. And the woman is made for the man, and the man is made for the woman. But I'm going to go in hard after speaking about the fallacies and how there are good black men. And this is not to knock anyone who has had a bad experience, because I'm going to cover everything. But I want to start this way. There is a question that I have heard for many years, but lately it seems to be getting louder and louder with each passing day. It's asked in beauty salons, barbershops, workplaces, churches, family gatherings, and all across social media. It's a question often spoken with frustration, disappointment, exhaustion, and sometimes even heartbreak. Where are the black men? At first glance, it sounds like a simple question, but the moment you begin to examine it more closely, you realize that it is anything but simple. The question itself carries layers of emotion, assumptions, personal experiences, societal influences, and in many cases, pain that has been building for years. It's not merely a question about physical presence. It's a question about relationships, family, leadership, responsibility, trust, stability, and community. The first thing that must be said is that black men are not missing. Now, it seems like I'm contradicting myself when compared to the intro, but hear me out. They are not an endangered species. They have not vanished into thin air. They're not hiding behind some invisible curtain waiting to be discovered. Black men are everywhere. They're working jobs that keep cities running. They're operating businesses. They're serving in the military. They're driving buses. I know a little bit about that. Delivering packages, repairing homes, teaching students, coaching young athletes, caring for elderly parents, and doing countless tasks that often go unnoticed by society. Yet despite all of this, there remains a persistent narrative that black men are somehow absent. For some people, this narrative has become accepted as fact. It has been repeated so often that many no longer stop to question whether it's actually true or not. Instead, they simply repeat it as though it were a universal reality. But whenever a statement becomes popular, it becomes even more important to examine it carefully. What I have learned throughout my life is that perception and reality are often two very different things. Sometimes what appears obvious on the surface turns out to be far more complicated underneath. Sometimes the loudest stories are not the most accurate stories. Sometimes the images that dominate our screens tell us only a tiny fraction of what is actually happening around us. And when it comes to the conversation about black men in America, I believe we have reached a point where honesty is desperately needed. One of the greatest tragedies in modern society is how easily stereotypes become accepted as truth. Once a stereotype is repeated enough times, people stop treating it as an option and begin treating it as fact. This process is dangerous because it removes individuality from people and replaces it with assumptions. For generations, black men have carried the burden of stereotypes that paint them as irresponsible, violent, absent, uncommitted, lazy, overly aggressive, emotionally unavailable, or incapable of building stable lives. While there are certainly individuals who fit those descriptions, the same can be said for every racial group, every economic class, and every community on earth. Yet somehow, when a black man fails, his failure is often presented as evidence against all black men. That is not only unfair, it is intellectually dishonest. No group should be judged solely by its worst examples. No community should be defined entirely by its struggles. If that standard were applied equally across society, no group would escape criticism. Every community has people who make terrible decisions. Every community has individuals who bring shame upon themselves and others. Every community has people who fail to live up to their responsibilities. The problem is that when it comes to black men, negative examples often receive disproportionate attention. They become the face of an entire population, while millions of hardworking, responsible men remain largely invisible. Over time, this creates a distorted image that becomes increasingly difficult to challenge. The average person is not exposed to the countless stories of black men quietly fulfilling their obligations every single day. They are not shown the father working double shifts to provide for his children. They are not shown the son caring for an elderly mother whose health is declining. They are not shown the business owner struggling through difficult economic times while keeping employees on payroll. They are not shown the mentor dedicating his free time to helping young people avoid destructive paths. Those stories rarely make headlines because responsibility is not considered exciting. Stability is not considered entertaining. Consistency does not attract attention the way chaos does. And therein lies the problem. We live in an era where social media has become one of the primary ways people form opinions about the world around them. Unfortunately, social media is not designed to highlight balance. It is designed to capture attention. The content that spreads the fastest is usually the content that generates strong emotional reactions. Anger spreads, outrage spreads, conflict spreads, drama spreads, dysfunction spreads. Meanwhile, ordinary examples of responsibility are often ignored. A video showing relationship conflict may receive millions of views. A video showing a healthy marriage may receive a fraction of that attention. A story about a criminal act may dominate news cycles for days. A story about a man quietly supporting his family for 20 years may never be reported at all. As a result, people begin consuming a version of reality that is heavily tilted toward negativity. The more they consume it, the more they begin believing that negativity is the norm. This creates a dangerous cycle. People begin expecting dysfunction, and once they expect dysfunction, they become more likely to notice it whenever it appears. Positive examples become invisible because they do not fit the narrative that has already been accepted. Many people who ask where the Black men are may not realize that they interact with responsible Black men every single day. They simply do not categorize those men as part of the conversation because those men are quietly handling their responsibilities rather than advertising them. The loudest people are not always the majority. In fact, many times, they are the exception. There's another side of this discussion that deserves serious attention. Many Black men are carrying burdens that few people fully understand. From a young age, countless Black boys are taught that strength means silence. They learn to suppress emotions, conceal vulnerability, and solve problems without asking for help. They are often praised for toughness while receiving little guidance on how to process pain. As they grow older, these lessons become deeply ingrained. Many become men who know how to work but do not know how to heal. They know how to provide but do not know how to express what they're feeling. They know how to survive but have never been taught how to recover from emotional wounds. Add economic pressure to that reality, and the situation becomes even more challenging. The cost of living continues to rise. Housing has become increasingly expensive. Healthcare remains costly. Food prices continue climbing. Financial stability feels more difficult to achieve than it did for previous generations. Many Black men find themselves working longer hours simply to maintain a standard of living that once required far less effort. Some are supporting children. Some are helping parents. Some are helping siblings. Some are trying to rebuild after divorce. Some are trying to recover from financial setbacks. Some are battling loneliness that nobody around them knows exists. Yet despite all of this, they continue waking up each morning and doing what must be done. Their struggles rarely become public discussions. Their sacrifices rarely become viral stories, but they exist nonetheless, and they deserve to be acknowledged. Now, let me make something very clear. Acknowledging the challenges faced by Black men does not mean pretending that serious problems do not exist. They do. There are the Black men who refuse responsibilities. There are the Black men who abandon their children. There are Black men who exploit women. There are Black men who allow addiction, laziness, selfishness, or destructive behavior to dominate their lives. These realities cannot be ignored, minimized, or explained away. Accountability matters. Personal responsibility matters. Character matters. Choices matter. No community can move forward by refusing to confront its weaknesses. At the same time, however, no community can move forward by constantly defining itself according to its failures. That balance is where honest conversation lives. We must be mature enough to acknowledge shortcomings without allowing those shortcomings to become the entire story. We must be willing to challenge destructive behavior while also celebrating positive examples. We must stop speaking as though every Black man is either a hero or a failure. Human beings are far more complicated than that. And Black men, like everyone else, deserve to be viewed through the lens of their full humanity rather than simplistic labels. Perhaps the greatest misunderstanding surrounding Black men is that so much of what they do happens quietly. Across America, there's an invisible army of Black men who rarely receive recognition for their contributions. These men wake up before sunrise. They commute long distances. They work physically demanding jobs. They solve problems. They support relatives. They mentor younger generations. They contribute to churches, organizations, and neighborhoods. They keep promises. They pay bills. They fulfill obligations. Most of them will never become famous. Most of them will never trend online. Most of them will never receive awards. Yet communities continue functioning because of their efforts. These are not extraordinary men performing miraculous acts. These are ordinary men choosing responsibility every single day. And perhaps that is what makes their contributions so remarkable. Because responsibility is not glamorous. It's not flashy. It's not exciting. It is often repetitive, exhausting, and thankless. Yet these men continue showing up, not because they're perfect, not because they have all the answers, but because they understand that people depend on them. That reality deserves far more attention than it currently receives. I hope this message enlightened you and brought some balance. Yes, we do have the stereotypes and those who are bottom feeders, those who choose the negativity and believe what's put and broadcast across the enemy's media in a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of way. Yes, we have that. But let's acknowledge those who are good. And if we really open our eyes and really look around, it won't be too hard to find one that is a good Black man. But we have to understand that when we have bad experiences, sisters, I understand you. I feel you. I have seen many of our sisters go through some really rough times because of a disappointment from a wayward Black man. They're there. Me speaking these positive words is not to throw off what you are feeling or to debunk or say that it's not true. I am witnessing personally in my life several horror stories that are going on as we speak. We're talking life-changing situations that were born out of negativity caused by several black men in different situations. There are a lot of people I know out there. There are a lot of people that I'm connected to. There are a lot of people that I encourage. There's all different types of situations that are brought to my doorstep and to my desk and into my personal life. So please don't think that I'm trying to sugarcoat something because I know the negativity, but sometimes we have to see the bigger picture. And hopefully, sisters, those who are going through stuff with the wayward black men who have nothing on their mind, hopefully you can run across one who, if you're not looking for marriage or a relationship, but one who can come to your aid and treat you right like it used to be more common back in the day when I was growing up. And I want to add this other part too. A lot of these black men that I've known growing up, they're not with us right now. They've transitioned on. But seeing them really taught me a lesson on how we are supposed to act in our communities. But since we don't have many of them left in abundance as we should for those pockets of areas that don't have much, we need to make an effort to go back to that. Because I remember, no matter who they were, whether they were the mailman or the bus driver or a school janitor who swept floors and emptied garbage and mopped floors, or an engineer or a policeman, no matter who it was, on whatever level of status in the community that they had, they made sure, like the thread that holds the suit together, they made sure to keep righteousness going on. If there was a little child that was using profanity away from the presence of their mother, they let that mother know and they corrected the child, and the mother had no problem with it. We didn't need the police like they say we need now. We were not out of control because we held ourselves together. Now, with the removal of a lot of our black men, especially in the inner cities, and there are some good ones there, now the police have an excuse to come on in to arrest the young men who may not have the guidance. And if they did, they wouldn't be in that position. So this is a deeper discussion. This is a deeper topic that I'm going to go in on more often. And I'd like for you to leave a comment below to let me know the direction that you'd like for me to take. I'd like to continue this discussion and expand on one of the many facets that I spoke on in this segment. So I'm looking forward to hearing from you. I do appreciate your feedback, whether it's public here, where everybody can see, or it's private. It's no problem. I will speak on anything that you'd like me to speak on overall. I am not afraid to speak on any topic. I don't back down from any topic, and I try to do it in a balanced way. So let me know what you think about this. And if you want me just to make a segment on just the wayward black men, I will do that, not as a way of putting it down or putting them down or focusing on that, but we'll turn it around into a healing way. But sisters, make sure you know who you're dealing with. Take time with them. I know sometimes in both sexes we can get lonely and make wrong decisions or quick decisions, but we got to take our time because there are a lot of shapeshifters out here in all races. But with the black race, we have them. We have them also. Anyway, just want to say thank you for taking the time to listen to my words. And I always appreciate you being here. I'm on to the next one. Looking forward to hearing your comments. Lance Scurv out, and as always, peace.